On Christmas night, 1996, a murder occurred in the USA that shocked the entire world. A 6-year-old girl was found dead in the basement of her own home. Several hundred people fell under suspicion, including her parents and brother. This riddle has remained unsolved for a quarter of a century, though many are convinced the girl's killer has long been known. JonBenét Patricia Ramsey was born on August 6, 1990, into a complete and affluent family that seemingly had everything one could wish for. Her father, John Ramsey, was the president of a computer sales company. He moved with his family to Boulder, Colorado, where he bought a new, large house. From a young age, the girl participated in various beauty pageants, winning numerous titles. These achievements brought her fame and provided her parents with an additional source of income. On December 25, 1996, JonBenét, along with her parents, went to celebrate Christmas at friend's house. The celebration was a success. The children rejoiced and had fun all evening, entertained by Santa Claus. On the way home, the girl fell asleep in the car, and her father carried her to her bedroom. This was the last time her parents saw JonBenét alive. What happened next shocked the quiet, respectable town, making it the epicenter of one of history's most mysterious murders. On December 26, JonBenét's mother woke up at 5 a.m. to prepare for a family trip to Lake Michigan. Descending the stairs, the woman saw a letter on the bottom step. The message stated that her daughter, JonBenét, had been kidnapped and that $118,000 was required for her return. This sum was chosen deliberately. It was the exact amount of her father's annual bonus. Patricia rushed to JonBenét's room, but she wasn't there. She woke her husband, who decided to call the police, despite the kidnapper's prohibition. The mother began calling friends, many of whom immediately came to support her. The letter stated that the parents would be contacted within a few hours, and they waited together. However, no call came. The letter, the main piece of evidence, was handled by many people. Police did not prevent this and didn't even thoroughly search the Ramsey home. They merely suggested the couple inspect the rooms themselves to see if anything was missing. Only 7 hours after the letter's discovery, Mr. Ramsey began his search, went down to the basement, and found his daughter's body on the floor. 2 large hematomas were found on the girl's head, and bloodstains were on her underwear. Her hands were tied above her head with a white cord. After the body was found, the kidnapping turned into a grim murder. The police immediately faced a question. Why did the killer write a ransom letter? Moreover, it was written on 3 pages from Mr. Ramsey's notepad, suggesting the perpetrator wrote it right there in the house while the family slept. According to the police, the killer was in the house for about an hour. During this time, no one heard anything suspicious or woke up. This raises the question: how could the killer move JonBenét from her bedroom to the basement without making a sound or leaving any traces? Shortly after the investigation began, the police admitted to significant errors. The house wasn't properly searched initially. When the decision was finally made to inspect it, John, the victim's father, and a friend started the search, not the law enforcement officers. As a result, crucial evidence may have been lost, and the chances of solving the crime quickly diminished to 0. Initially, 2 theories were considered. Either an intruder, who could be a complete stranger or an acquaintance, entered the house, or JonBenét's parents were involved in the murder. Upon learning of the suspicions against them, the wealthy couple immediately hired top lawyers. On their advice, John and Patricia firmly refused to give written statements that the investigators hoped to use for psychological evaluations. Such evaluations include methods that can quite accurately determine what in witness testimonies is false and what is true. The subsequent actions of the girl's mother and father also aroused suspicion. They refused interrogations, claiming they had already provided all known information in unofficial conversations with investigators. The deeper detectives delved, the more suspicious the parents' statements became. The mother told police that before bed, she had unbraided her daughter's hair and removed her dress. However, the girl was found wearing that exact clothing, and her hair was tied in 2 pigtails. Pieces of a laurel wreath, which the girls wore at parties, were also found in her hair. Secondly, during the autopsy, undigested pieces of pineapple were found in the girl's stomach. This indicates she ate approximately 4 hours before the murder. According to her parents, the last time the child ate was at the celebration around 10 p.m. So, where did the pineapple in her stomach come from? Investigators also found this fruit in the family refrigerator, which further increased their distrust. Thirdly, some windows and the door were not locked in the house overnight. Why didn't the parents lock the house? Perhaps they unlocked the doors after the tragedy to mislead the investigation. Shortly before the incident, Patricia had given keys to many people, friends, relatives, and staff, supposedly so they could look after the house during the owner's upcoming vacation. Finally, another strange point. The girl's mother was made to undergo a handwriting analysis to compare her writing style with the ransom note. Detectives concluded that the woman deliberately altered her handwriting during the examination. Later, it was even revealed that the letter was written using a typewriter, which has not been found to this day. The investigation also explored the theory that JonBenét was killed by her father. The man had been taking antidepressants for some time, so police considered the possibility that he might have hit the girl in a fit of rage. Thinking she had died, he might have staged her murder by a stranger. Here, the ransom note comes to mind. Perhaps the parents wanted to send the investigation on a false trail and hoped the police wouldn't search the house. Realizing a search was inevitable, he might have discovered his daughter's body himself. While the parents remained the main suspects, they appeared on TV shows, gave interviews, and even published a book titled Death of Innocence, in which they supposedly revealed everything they knew about their daughter's murder. Detective Steve Thomas, who worked on the case, also published a book about it. It's unknown what their motives were, but with each passing year, someone continued to profit from JonBenét's name. The girl's parents also sued 2 publications that accused them of their daughter's murder. They managed to win $4 million in damages, which the public viewed as another attempt to profit from a deceased child. Concurrently, detectives worked on another theory: beauty pageants. Police considered that due to the girl's public profile, a predator might have noticed her, found her address, and killed her. This line of investigation was much more complex, as the number of potential suspects could be in the thousands. Given this, the police made no progress in this direction. The investigation had effectively reached a dead end. The parents actively profited from their deceased daughter's name. Hope of finding the truth was fading. In 2006, it was revealed that the girl's mother died of ovarian cancer. On June 24, 2006, just 2 months later, something unexpected happened. A man named John Mark Carr, who was completely unknown to the police, suddenly confessed to JonBenét's murder. He stated that he saw the girl at a beauty pageant and fell in love with her. The man collected her photos, newspaper clippings, and dreamed of writing a book about her murder. Police thought one of the most high-profile cases had finally been solved. But alas, Carr was innocent. How is this possible? To this day, no one truly understands why he took the blame. Some psychologists believe that certain individuals have a pathological need for constant attention, and confessing to a high-profile murder is the easiest way to get it. Others suggest that Carr became so engrossed in JonBenet's story and thoughts about her that he lost touch with reality. In his mind, fantasy and life merged into a single whole, and he came to believe that he had killed the girl, even if he had never actually met her. In reality, he couldn't recall any significant detail about the night of the murder, stumbled over his own words, and had no idea what the girl's house looked like. But that's not all. Police confirmed that Carr wasn't even in the city at the time of the murder. He himself never explained why he took the blame. In 2008, the case saw another development. DNA analysis revealed that the blood found on JonBenet's underwear did not belong to any of the girl's relatives. It turned out the blood belonged to an unknown male. A comparison of his DNA with the FBI's genetic database of criminals yielded no results. After a long lull, another interesting event occurred. Burke, the victim's older brother, gave his first interview in 2016. In his opinion, JonBenet's murder was linked precisely to the pageants where an unknown perpetrator noticed the girl. It's worth mentioning another theory, that the girl was killed by her own brother. Proponents of this theory consider two scenarios. Burke might have accidentally pushed the girl or otherwise caused her a serious head injury, leading to her death. This theory seems very weak, as there would have been no need for parental involvement if it were merely an accident. The second theory is more logical. Burke could have deliberately inflicted serious injuries on his sister that led to her death. In such a case, the parents' involvement in covering up the crime could be easily explained. Having lost one child, they didn't want the life of their second child to be completely ruined. Why would Burke kill his own sister? Proponents of this theory cite jealousy as the primary motive. With JonBenet's arrival, her older brother receded into the background for their parents, and her successful beauty pageant career only amplified the public's attention on the girl. This resentment could have accumulated over years before culminating in a tragic turn of events. This theory also raises questions. The brother was only 9 years old at the time. Could his actions have inflicted a fatal injury on the girl? And how could his parents forgive him after what he had done? In 2019, the case took another unpredictable turn. 50-year-old inmate Gary Oliva, serving time for possession of child-related materials, confessed to JonBenet's murder. Oliva had been one of the main suspects since the beginning of the investigation. At that time, police searched his car, finding a stun gun and poems about JonBenét, but no evidence directly linking him to the murder was found. On the night of the murder, December 26th, Oliva called his school friend Michael Veal and said, "I heard a little girl." Veal tried to extract more information from him, but failed. After the call, he contacted the police and relayed Oliva's words, but he was unaware of any further police action. After 2016, while in prison, Veal received letters from him in which he confessed, "I admitted guilt for the murder of JonBenét, as well as countless assaults on children and sexual abuse against them. I have signed many agreements with court representatives regarding this. I am a serial killer. I have a mental disorder that I cannot control. I told detectives about all the murders I could remember, and they wrote everything down, but they cannot prove any of these murders." It seemed as if, after several years, the killer had been found. However, this story isn't so simple. Firstly, a whole year has passed since the confession. Since then, the topic has barely been raised, and no charges have been filed, even though Oliva's initial confession was known virtually since the night of the murder. Secondly, the perpetrator claims he loved the girl and didn't want to kill her. She allegedly tripped and fell, hitting her head. Here we face the question, how could the events of that night have unfolded if the parents and brother didn't hear a fall? If the girl fell, One might assume she tried to run. Why didn't she scream or call for help? Even if she tried to run silently, which is completely uncharacteristic for a child, the sounds of footsteps, struggle, and falling should still have been heard throughout the house. But that's not all. Forensic examination showed that the head injury was most likely caused by a blow from a heavy object. Oliva, however, claims the girl fell. In my opinion, the theory of Oliva's involvement seems entirely implausible. The large British newspaper Daily Mail immediately sensationalized the perpetrator's confession, declaring the case solved. However, it remains open, and all these sensational newspaper claims appear to be a mere attempt to hype one of the most enigmatic murders. Another fact argues against Oliva's involvement. Remember that window through which the perpetrator might have entered the house? It was covered in cobwebs, and an adult man simply wouldn't have been able to pass through it without disturbing them. The lawyers hired by the girl's father defended a very strange theory. In their opinion, cobwebs are a very elastic material and could have returned to their original form even after a person passed through. Furthermore, detectives found no traces leading to the window or other potential entry points. Given all this, one thing can be said. This crime is one of the most convoluted and contradictory in history. Among the multitude of theories, each has its flaws. But which theory seems most probable? Having examined all the nuances of this case, the involvement of the brother strikes me as the most plausible version. Numerous factors indicate that an outsider could not have entered the house without leaving traces. They couldn't have committed this crime absolutely silently, moved the girl to the basement, and left. Excluding an outside killer, we are left with 3 suspects. Of course, a 9-year-old boy couldn't have staged a kidnapping alone. If the brother was the killer, parental involvement in covering up the crime is simply inevitable. Only one question remains. If it was the brother, did he kill her consciously? Or did he miscalculate his strength and hit the girl on the head with something, leading to her death? In my opinion, it was indeed a tragic, yet accidental, set of circumstances. Most likely, the brother did experience jealousy towards his sister, and the events of that evening pushed him past his breaking point. What makes the brother theory most plausible is the cumulative weight of evidence pointing away from an outsider and the strong motive of jealousy that could reasonably manifest in a child's actions. The theory also aligns with the parents' unusual behavior, which can be seen as an attempt to protect their remaining child rather than outright culpability for the murder itself. This is further supported by the context of the father's previous loss, making his decision to protect Burke, however questionable, understandable from an emotional standpoint.